What's up, YouTube? So I keep seeing this debate about our quarterback coming up over and over again, and it's getting a little bit old. It seems like the Dolphins fandom has kind of divided itself into two kind of extreme parties of either overly defending Tua or overly hating on Tua. And I think both sides are equally wrong. You have one side completely ignoring all the factors that Tua's had to deal with that has led up to his struggles. And then you also have a side that is completely ignoring his struggles. So I kind of want to give my thoughts on it because I'm somewhere in the middle. And I think I've been pretty transparent about it this whole time. I'm still in support of Tua. I still think he's our best bet moving forward. I've been saying for forever basically that I want to build the house. That was my stance before we drafted Tua. I didn't want to draft a quarterback that year unless it was Joe Burrow. Like if Cincy didn't draft him or something, then I would have been interested. But I wanted to build up the offensive line, get a good receiving core, get a good running game going, get a solid defense. That's what I wanted to do. But once they drafted Tua, it's like, okay, cool, he's our quarterback. Let's build around him. That's always been my stance. And even going into this class, I wanted to build around Tua and see what he's got. And then if we already have a dope-ass house built after this year, then we can get our franchise quarterback next year. That's always been my stance. So, I'll talk about the group that's kind of hating on Tua a lot first. Because one thing you do have to acknowledge with Tua is all the bullshit that he's had to withstand. Between Brian Flores, not wanting him and the relationship that they had together, being a pretty negative one. Brian Flores never wanted Tua, and Chris Greer drafted him over his head, which I think is a stupid move when GMs do that. If your coach isn't interested in the quarterback, it's probably not going to be a good relationship if you force that quarterback upon them. And then, him getting benched for Ryan Fitzpatrick, and then Ryan Fitzpatrick being brought back in the game, and then Tua being brought back. Like, it was a bad situation for both of them. So that really hurt him as well. You have all the different things with the media, like constantly, putting more and more pressure on his shoulders, the whole Deshaun Watson thing. So all that outside stuff. And then you get on the field, and we have had one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Actually, one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen in the NFL, ever. For the last 2 years. And we've had a really bad offensive line for a long time, but it's just been even worse recently. So that is a factor, and I think our receiving core has been pretty mediocre. We had Jalen Waddle, which was great. Devontae Parker was solid when he was healthy, but he's never healthy. Then you have people like Mac Hollins, who's fine, but it's pretty average to mediocre. And then you pair that with one of the worst offensive lines I've ever seen, and that just spells for a bad day. And our running back room is pretty mediocre too. Mike Gesicki, if you want to add that to the receiving core, that does help. Because he is basically just a big, slow receiver at this point because he's not really much of a tight end. So I guess you can count him. But those definitely are factors, and I feel like a lot of Tua haters just kind of push those to the side a little bit and just try to blame Tua and act like those aren't real things, and they are. And even now, I still don't love our offensive line. I think it's better with Teron Armstead and Connor Williams, and hopefully, the new coaching staff and everything like that will help bring along the others. But I still think we have a pretty bad offensive line. It's just better than it was, pretty much by default. And the receiving core, obviously, is much better this year. So that's the thing. But I do also think that there are people who are overly defending Tua and acting like he has no fault in this at all. And I think that's completely false. Like, it feels like anytime Tua gets criticism, you're going to get people who are overly in support of criticizing Tua and just hating on everything he's done. And then you also have people who act like you know, the offensive line and all the outside pressures. Those are the only things to blame, and Tua has none on himself. That's not true either. His pre-snap reads are better than it was in his rookie year, and his anticipation, but they are still things that need to be improved. Just his knowledge of an NFL offense, his post snap reads, all those things really still need to improve quite a bit. And you'd be foolish if you think that, you know, Tua has no faults in this either, because he definitely does. So I just think that both sides are being equally foolish in this argument. And I'm kind of sick of seeing it, and I don't think this video is going to stop me from seeing it. But I just wanted to give my thoughts, because I keep getting asked about it. And honestly, I'm getting kind of sick of talking about Tua. Because, like, just because it's a constant conversation about him, you know? But it is what it is. Like I said, I'm still in full support of Tua. And also, one thing I want to say, and this isn't even just Dolphins fans, this is sports fans, really. Don't get so caught up with being right that you forget to root for your team. Because, for example, Javon Holland, I think it's pretty clear that when we drafted him, I was not a fan of Javon Holland because the tape he put up at Oregon doesn't match what he actually did for the Dolphins. And I'll accept that I was wrong about Javon Holland. And you know why? Because he's playing well for us. And I would rather win than be right. So all the people hating on Tua, don't be afraid to support him if he proves you wrong. And conversely, if we eventually replace Tua and end up with good results, don't be afraid to cheer on our new quarterback either. At the end of the day, I want to win. I'm sick of being a mediocre to bad team. I'm sick of it. So, yeah. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you liked it, I appreciate hitting that like button. Have any questions or comments in the comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.